Very good afternoon to you. Welcome to News Desk on KTN News, a 24-hour news channel. My name is Najma Ismail. Let us take a look at some of the highlights making headlines this hour. Appellate judges continue with the TSC appeal against teachers' pay hike. Calls for Waiguru's resignation over stolen NYS millions continues. And Somalia's path to recovery as police undergo training. It is 1 o'clock in Nairobi. News Desk starts right now. Now, the case between the Teachers Service Commission and the Kenya National Union of Teachers has been going on since morning. The case regarding the 50 to 60 pay increase has been going on since this morning, and our reporter Sharon Momanyi has been following the proceedings and joins us live. Sharon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Najma. Now, yes, the appeal case was taking place at the Court of Appeal here at the Supreme Court this morning, and it's just adjourned now. So what happened during the hearing, Najma, is that the TSC's counsel was making their submissions seeking to overthrow that ruling that was made by the Employment and Labor Relations Court, a ruling that was made on June 30th that directed that teachers' salaries be increased by 50 to 60%. Now, it is a ruling that the TSC immediately challenged in the Court of Appeal, saying that the government, the country cannot afford to implement this order because it does not have that kind of money, saying that it would to implement this ruling would need the country to commit 118 billion shillings, which TSC has maintained it does not have. So in their submissions with TSC's counsel Fred Ngatia and the Attorney General Githu Muigai, who was actually representing himself, saying that first of all, in their submission, saying that TSC does not have funds independently, but when that ruling was made, they would have to get the money from the Treasury, because TSC, being the teacher's employer, still has to get the money from the country, saying that immediately that ruling was made, they sent a letter to the Treasury, making known to the Treasury the kind of directive they got from the court, and the Treasury immediately responded saying that they were not able to commit to this ruling because they do not have that kind of money. And so this is the kind of case and argument that the TSC's counsel had today, saying that TSC could not independently, obey this ruling because they do not have money on their own. And further, the Teachers Council also say, the Teachers Service Commission's Council also saying that the court was not did not have the jurisdiction to really make that kind of a ruling, saying that first, the court cannot give an award that would commit public tax, saying that it is Parliament that has that constitutional jurisdiction and function, in fact, of committing public tax. So those were the kind of submissions that were made today, some solid submissions, Najma, but the teachers' unions through their councils were not able to make their responses today, and the case was adjourned till tomorrow morning, where the teachers will be able to respond to the submissions that were made today. But quite some solid submissions. They are mainly challenging the jurisdiction of that court in making that award, and saying that also the judge throughout the hearing was counseled and advised by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, saying that at that time they did not have the money to implement what the teachers were agitating for. And so the council today saying that the court dismissed the council that they had, both from the SRC and from representatives of the Treasury that were present during the hearing of that court, of that case that awarded the 50 to 60%. So those were some of the submissions they were making. Remember, this is the appeal to completely overthrow that ruling, one that really raised the hopes of the teachers that through the years, over a decade of agitation for having their pay rise, a ruling that was really a landmark one that would see the salaries increased by such huge margins, the 50 to 60%. So it is one that the whole country is waiting to see how it goes. Teachers waiting to see if their salaries will increase. Students, of course, waiting for this whole process because the strike is still ongoing, pending this court hearing to see how this will end, because they want classes to go back to normal and continue, Najma.
Sharon, I believe that not lawyer Ahmed Nasser Abdullahi has removed himself from the case. Kindly tell us why.
Now, what happened, Najma, is that yesterday, Tuesday, the NAT through the council, they sought to have, the three-judge bench that was set to hear the appeal case to recuse itself. What they were saying is that that bench of judges was compromised by the presidency, and they say that they had evidence that they were being puppeteered by the executive, saying that they were not, acting independently. And so the teachers yesterday sought to have, the bench of judges completely exchanged, but this did not happen. The court ruled that the teachers did not have sufficient evidence, and what they actually did eventually is just add 2 more judges to that bench, and it is now a 5-judge bench. Now, Ahmed Nasser recused himself from the proceedings of the court, saying that with that ruling and with the continuance of those 3 judges that they claimed are not independent, he says that he cannot participate in a hearing that is compromised. Najma.
Sharon, you told us that there's another ruling tomorrow. What should we expect? Just briefly tell me what we should expect.
Yes, so it is... So what is happening, Najma, is the appeal case is ongoing. It's just got adjourned today because some of the council were committed in other courts and could not continue. So it continues tomorrow. What happened today was just the submissions by the applicants, that is the TSC and the Attorney General. So the teachers did not get a chance to give their response to the submissions, and this is what will continue tomorrow. So just part of the appeal case is continuing tomorrow, and of course hoping that the ruling will be made tomorrow or soon, because it is a crucial case that holds really a lot is pegged on it, chief of which is the teacher strike that is ongoing. Najma.
Thank you very much, Sharon Momanyi, keeping an eye on that story for us. It is indeed a wait-and-see situation. The teachers are waiting to see if they will be awarded their salary increment. The students, on the other part, are waiting to see if the teachers will go back to class. Moving on now, Machakos Senator Johnston Muthama is currently recording statement at the National Cohesion and Integration Commission headquarters. Now, this follows NCIS declaration that they were investigating Muthama for possible hate speech during the CORD rally in Uhuru grounds in Nairobi. Now, CORD leader Raila Odinga last weekend accompanied Muthama to record a statement at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations headquarters on claims that he defamed President Uhuru Kenyatta at a rally on Wednesday. Now, with his lawyers, John Khaminwa and Harun Dubi, the senator maintained he committed no offense during the rally that has caused a storm, with some calling for his arrest. Let's now turn to another developing story right here in Kenya, and it is about the preparations for El Nino rains that are expected to hit parts of the region in the next month or so. But one village cannot live without the thought of another episode of torrential rains. Masi Kandie explains why.
The beautiful Elgeyo escarpment of Tingwa Hills has an ugly side known only too well by residents here. The terrain is notorious with landslides. The worst ever was brought about by the El Nino rains of 1997. Jelagat Kibet was there that fateful day and remembers how the earth moved, causing destruction.
Mvua ilinyesha kabisa, poromoko ya ardhi ikatokea, tukatatisika, manyumba yakachukuliwa. Hata manyumba yenyewe, mahali popote palikuwa maji. Hakuna mahali pa kupikia, hakuna mahali pa kulala, watoto hawakai vizuri.
Tuliambiwa ya kwamba mkae hapa hadi mkingoja permanent solution. Lakini kutoka siku hiyo mpaka wa leo hatujapata solution ya permanent, kwa maana tunaishi temporary tena katika hali ambayo mnaona tunaishi hapa sasa.
Jelagat is among the over 500 residents at the El Nino Campsite Center in Keyo South, but this settlement was meant to be temporary. It's been too long a stay here that is now a village with a new name, a name that brought them here, El Nino Village.
Tulipohama hapa kwa sababu El Nino ndio ilituhamisha tukuja hapa, sasa ndio hiyo jina El Nino ndio ikapatiwa hapa. Ndio sasa inaitwa El Nino kwa sababu watu wa El Nino, watu ambao walihamishwa na El Nino walikuja kuishi hapa, lakini zamani ilikuwa inaitwa Kimoroni.
Inside the El Nino Campsite Hotel, residents deliberate over the recent announcement by the Meteorological Department that El Nino rains set to pound the country beginning October. Fears from memories of a community that says theirs is to wait as they seek alternatives to the catastrophe.
Hatuna raha hata kidogo. Hata sasa tukiwa hapa tuna wasiwasi mwingi sana, kwa sababu hatujui pale ilikuwa msitu na hapa tumeishi katika msitu. Hatujui kama hii itangolewa pia itumalize hapa ama tutabaki.
Some have decided to move. The little rains experienced here is already creating cracks on the grounds.
Hata mnaona bado siko manguo zake, siko vitu, hata hajamaliza zote kusibeba. Na vali amehamia pale ni shamba tu, ameomba tu mtu ausiwe pointi moja aishi katika nyanda za sehemu za chini za usalama.
For many others, El Nino Village is the only home their children know, one that will change if only the government relocates them.
Karibu miaka 20. Watoto ambao tumewazaa wamekuwa wakubwa, wamekuwa wazee, wametaka mahitaji kama sisi pia.
Reports in the area indicate over 60 people have been killed due to landslides since the 1997 El Nino rains, with geologists declaring the Elgeyo Escarpment unfit for human settlement. Masika Ndiye, KTN News, Keyo South.
Now, Bomet Governor Isaac Ruto has added his voice to the demands by a section of United Republican Party URP members of Parliament that are demanding for Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru to step aside over allegations of corruptions in her docket. Now, the governor pointed out that Waiguru's cabinet colleague David Chirchir, Felix Koskei, Kazungu Kambi and Charity Ngilu, among others, were forced to temporarily leave office, and therefore the devolution CS should not receive preferential treatment. Now, he also challenged members of the National Alliance Party, TNA, to apply the same passion they had in demanding for Waiguru's colleagues and governors to step aside to pave way for investigations over allegations of corruption leveled against them.
If there is need for investigations, I think she should step aside. You cannot apply the law differently on some ministers and another law for other ministers. She should step aside, let there be investigations. After all, but they were also very loud in telling governors and MPs to step aside. What has happened to this one? There were some ministers who also stepped aside hardly 7 months ago. And there was even no serious allegations. They were only letters written to EACC. This one, even he should even have stepped aside when the police, when the CID were actually investigating his docket, which is NYS. That has been his baby, her baby. And surely she needs to demonstrate that the law is applicable to everyone.
To Burundi now, just months after turmoil broke out in Burundi following President Pierre Nkurunziza's decision to vie for a third term in office, the escalating violence is now biting hard at the country's economy, and unemployment rates are scaling rapidly. Now, as political instability lingers in, many young people say the future looks bleak as the rate of unemployment continues to soar and irregular inflation rates continue to make life at the East African country more unbearable. Timothy Otieno reports.
This greenhouse, located at the heart of Burundi's capital Bujumbura, belongs to 34-year-old Teddy Muhire. After graduating from university with a degree in economics in 2008, he couldn't find a job and decided to start his own business, growing and selling tomatoes. But Teddy now sadly admits that he could be at the verge of bankruptcy. Since violence erupted in April this year, the young man has struggled to make sales.
De temps en temps, il me vient à l'esprit de penser que les pouvoirs publics, les politiques...
I sometimes think that politicians purposely neglect the youth, leave them unemployed, and force the rest of the population to resort to begging in order to control the population, but also profit from them. Today, young people are educated and informed, and they know how other young people in the world live, and they are confident enough to compete with other young people in the region. They have access to information, and they are aware of world events, but unfortunately, when you have young people who are hungry and unemployed, it's hard for them to take charge for their lives because they are not independent.
Burundi has been mad in turmoil and sporadic violence since President Pierre Nkurunziza announced his bid for another 5-year term in April. He was sworn in on August the 20th after winning an election boycotted by his opponents. But the violence hasn't stopped since. The riots are weighing heavy on the country's economy, with inflation rates soaring over time. Economic analysts fear a worsening economic situation for the country that may see more people jobless and the economy dwindle to severely low levels.
Young people need to be more independent and more entrepreneurial. Maybe what they will struggle with is getting startup capital, but that's another issue. I think that people should work for themselves and create their own companies and stop relying on others to hire them.
Aniset Ndayishimiye's story, perhaps a representation of the sad state of the country's economy. He has 2 university degrees to his name, but spends most of his days on the internet browsing for job applications.
It is the government that has to take lead for all these young people. A young person with no job can become dangerous to society and grow up to cause even more unrest in the society.
The World Bank puts Burundi's unemployment rate at 11%, but with investors and business people remaining cautious due to the political tension, there isn't much recruitment going on. Already, the European Union and the United States, the country's 2 biggest donors, have promised to impose sanctions if President Nkurunziza does not bring an end to the ongoing violence that has plagued the nation. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
From Burundi to Somalia now, a consultative workshop aimed at developing a new policing model for the Somali Police Force SPF concluded in Mogadishu on Tuesday the 29th of September. Discussions focused on policing models in the federal, state and legal frameworks that would support them, structures and mechanisms for operations and integration enablers that would also pave way for a new integrated policing model for Somalia, as well as the leadership of the Somali Police Force. Take a look.
Representatives of the interim regional administrations, the United Nations Police and the African Union Mission in Somalia attended the 3-day consultative workshop organized through the support of the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia. Discussions in the workshop were aimed to result in an effective force ready to confront the policing realities facing Somalia. In his remarks, the Commissioner of the Somali Police Force, Major General Mohammed Sheikh Hamoud, said if adopted, the new policing model will enhance national and regional peace.
Our main concern is the stability of Somalia is part of the stability of the East Africa. And the stability of East Africa is part of the stability of the whole Africa and the whole world. Now, the world is having only one enemy, that is the terrorist. So while we are dealing with our own domestic problems, we are also sharing with our international partners and the neighboring countries the same fighting terrorists. So that's why we want to have a one police, coordinated, integrated, under one commandership, but have 2 levels of federal level and regional level.
According to Mr. Hans Wanderstein, the senior police advisor to the United Nations Assistance Mission in Somalia, the workshop sought technical advice from the Somali police on a model that would be most appropriate to the Somalia situation.
It's an historic step because, first of all, we bring together people from all over Somalia. It's not that easy, so we bring them together. And what is important is that is the first step to come to a final new policing model for Somalia. so that the police will be able to serve and to protect, and we will be able to be a professional force for the Somali citizen and the Somali society.
Recommendations from the workshop will be forwarded to the political leadership for approval before it is adopted by the federal government of Somalia. Michelle Nge.
Is 540. In a last and seemingly tactical move, the ruling National Resistance Movement Party chose the last day of returning forms to fulfill the legal requirements of submitting signatures to the Electoral Commission.
1,986.
The team, led by the party's National Vice Chairman Alhaji Moses Chigongo, delivered over 600,000 signatures collected from all districts across the country.
Shivoga 1,750. Tankwanzi 1,321.
This sets the ball rolling for a presidential contest likely to create a three-horse race between the incumbent, his former confidant Amama Mbabazi, and FDC strongman, retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye. The NRM says the bulk of signatures is a sign of might of the party. Defector NRM stalwart Amama Mbabazi collected a paltry 38,000 signatures.
Many of our supporters wanted to sign up, that's why we have brought many signatures here, more than beyond what is required. But we are confident that we have finished that part, and we just want to appeal to our supporters to bear with us.
The nominations are expected to take place between 5th and 6th of October. Sabit Joseph, NBS Sunset.
Well, that's it on News Desk on KTN Home, but let's cross to the other side, KTN News, where we'll be giving you the second part of this bulletin.